So Terence Crawford, boxing pound for pound #1, gave his reaction to Rigondeaux versus Casimero decision, where he stated, quote, "I don't know what they're talking about. Rigondeaux is winning this fight hands down. It's not even close." And when the decision was announced, Crawford stated, "Wow, that's crazy. Shake my head." End of the quote. Now, to all of the people that love Terence Crawford for having Castana winning over Jermell Charlo, keep the same energy, don't flip. Respect his opinion every single time. Not only when it fits your emotional opinion or the narrative you guys love to push. With that being said, I agree with Terence Crawford 1000%. I had Rigondeaux winning for multiple and many reasons, from Casimero being frustrated, confused, and lost in the sauce. How can you have a person that's lost, not knowing what the heck is going on during the actual fight? How can you even possibly have that person winning? Which I'm going to emphasize on that later on in this video. For the meantime, I want to go over where Rigondeaux miscalculated. Rigondeaux knows the cards have always been stacked up against him. He's been dealing with double standards his entire career. Therefore, he should know better not to give them an opportunity to take the win away from him by excessively moving for no reason. Because whenever he stood his ground in the middle of the ring, Casimero didn't do a damn thing. He stood right there with him. He did not throw punches. He did not come to the inside, so on and so forth. Casimero only came forward when Rigondeaux retreated, whenever he chose to box willingly, moving around. That's when Rigondeaux was giving Casimero false confidence. Better yet, he gave the judges a reason to rob him of the rounds he won. And I only say rob him because old media tries to paint the narrative that scoring a fight is subjective, when it's absolutely not. Scoring a fight is clearly objective. We constantly hear old media say scoring a fight is subjective based upon what the judges like, which is idiotic to say because scoring a fight has rules and regulations that the judges must follow, not based upon their opinions and feelings. Absolutely not, but based upon factual information. Scoring a fight is based upon punches landed, clean punching, effective blows, and damage taken. And 1/4 goes to the ring generalship. Now that's where old media always try to twist the narrative and gives it to the guy who's aggressive. But that's not how it goes. The ring general is the fighter who's in control, not the fighter who's aggressive and coming forward. However, that's what old media have been brainwashing the casual and the hardcore boxing fans with this entire time, which is the generalship goes to the aggressive fighter. Automatically, there is no but what if about it, unless it's Willie Pep that's moving around. All of a sudden, now they remember the rules. But obviously, Rigondeaux doesn't have the complexion for the protection, like Willie Pep. Rigondeaux has the complexion for the neglection, like every other fighter on the coincidental list. Nevertheless, back to the rules of scoring a fight. See, what you guys have to realize, it's a fact that the ring general is the fighter that's in control. Therefore, if you have a fighter like Muhammad Ali, Rigondeaux, etc., 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 who playing the role of the matador, moving around, utilizing the ring, boxing around, they call that today running. If you moving around, controlling your opponent in the meantime, where you manage to walk your opponent that's stalking you down to all types of traps, you walking him to punches, while your opponent that's being a bull can't cut off the ring nor land many punches on you, then guess what? You are the ring general. You are controlling your opponent, which is exactly what Rigondeaux did to Casimero to a T. See, when the fighter that's moving around is in control, then he's the ring general. Therefore, the ring generalship goes to him, which means for the Rigondeaux versus Casimero fight, the ring general was clearly Rigondeaux. Therefore, when scoring that fight, you give the ring generalship points to Guillermo Rigondeaux. Now, if you have a fighter like Cotto, for example, who is applying pressure on his opponent, managed to cut off the ring on his opponent every single time, cornering him in the corner and doing damage on his opponent, then guess what? The ring generalship goes to the aggressive fighter in Cotto. Just like the ring generalship was scored for Gennady Golovkin throughout his entire pro career, fighting C-level oppositions, because Gennady Golovkin managed to cut off the ring against them guys. However, Casimero, on the other hand, did he cut off the ring against Rigondeaux? Or was he just following Rigondeaux all around the ring like a lost bull? Going through the ropes, he nearly fell off the ring, looking lost in the sauce. He was confused. He needed some milk. I mean, he was looking around, not knowing what the heck he was doing. He didn't know if he should go right, left, forward, backward. So how can you give the ring generalship to a fighter that's not in control? To a fighter that's lost, that don't even know what's going on? If you're looking lost in the ring, then you lost the round. Simple and plain. Especially if Rigondeaux is also landing the cleaner, more effective blows. With the facts being laid out, instead of Showtime commentators pointing out all of the obvious in order to inform the public, to help them understand and appreciate the sweet science of boxing, hit and don't get hit. Instead, Al Bernstein, Abner Mares started to do exactly what destroyed HBO and caused the whole ship to sink, which is, instead of doing their job by calling the fight, breaking the fight down with their expertise, in order to inform the public and keep them in tune with what's taking place, they turn around and do the contrary. They shit on their own fighters that they work for. I mean, listening to them, if I was a casual fan, I would have turned off the TV and went to sleep. So how is that any good for Showtime viewership and statistics? The commentators should keep the listeners in tune with the fight instead of turning the viewers off from watching the fight, which is highly unprofessional. Showtime was better off having Snoop Dogg commentating the fight. Snoop would have told the public, man, look at Castano. He don't know where to go. Left, right. Is he high? Or is this weed getting to him? Snoop would have kept the audience more in tune with the fight than Showtime commentators did, which is sad to say the least. I know for a fact the fight can't be that boring because people lie, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie. And statistically speaking, Rigondeaux versus Casimero fight did way more ratings than the toe-to-toe action between Virgil Ortiz and Mean Machine, even on YouTube. So for the people that say, oh, Rigondeaux is boring, I'm never gonna watch his fights or go to YouTube to watch his highlights, then please explain to me, how come Rigondeaux highlights on YouTube did 9 times more viewership than the toe-to-toe action, the fight that actually had 5 knockdowns between Virgil Ortiz and Mean Machine? As you all see above, Rigondeaux versus Casimero fight did 654,000 viewership in 3 hours. Keep in mind, PBC have less subscription count than DAZN. PBC have 700,000. DAZN have 2 million subs on YouTube. But Virgil Ortiz versus Mean Machine highlights did 88,000 viewership in 3 hours. A day later, Rigondeaux highlights did 2.3 million, trending at number 5 on YouTube. Meanwhile, Virgil versus Mean Machine did 515,000, trending at number 6 a day later. Keep in mind, DAZN have the better highlights, period. Therefore, how come is the boring Rigondeaux doing 6 to 9 times the viewership the action-packed Virgil Ortiz is doing on DAZN? Nobody forced you guys to watch the Rigondeaux fight, just like nobody forced you guys to click on the highlights on YouTube. But you guys more interested in the Rigondeaux highlights than the Virgil Ortiz highlights, even though he's so boring. So you telling me you're more interested in boring than entertaining? That's my point exactly. We know what time it is. Old media stay praising Willie Pep for winning a round without throwing a single punch. However, if Rigondeaux does the same thing and even takes it a step further by not getting hit the entire round and hitting his opponent back in the process, old media gets ready to crucify him, since he don't have the complexion for the connection to get the ultimate protection. It's so disappointing to see Showtime commentators point out only the negative in Rigondeaux. You only see this in the sport of boxing. You will never see this in any other sport, like basketball, football, soccer, so on and so forth. Have you guys ever seen a team get crucified for playing defense in order to win the game? That's a rhetorical question. Absolutely not. A win is a win. For example, if the Lakers play defense in order to win the game against the Warriors, you think LeBron is not going to get his credit for the W against Steph Curry? Of course he will. Just like any other sport. Football, if the team plays defense, they will get their credit for the W. Even in soccer. What if the commentators in soccer trash the game when no one scores a goal or a team is playing defense? Do you guys see that in soccer? The game will go on for 45 minutes and no one scored a goal. Nobody complains. Everybody goes home happy. You don't hear the commentators trash the players for playing a boring defensive game, so on and so forth, like we do in boxing. I remember like it was today, when Floyd Mayweather fought Manny Pacquiao. Toward the end of the first round, Pacquiao bumped into Floyd Mayweather, so obviously Floyd Mayweather was forced to hold, and it was his first time holding. Out of nowhere, Al Bernstein, the Showtime commentator who works for the network Floyd Mayweather fights for, he stated, "It's interesting to see if the referee is going to allow Floyd Mayweather to do excessive holding." Now, mind you, Floyd was in front of Pacquiao the entire time. Outlanded Pacquiao, and Pacquiao haven't landed a single blow yet. So that was actually the first sequence Floyd Mayweather held. And to make matter worse, it ain't even like Floyd Mayweather reached out to clinch Manny Pacquiao. That wasn't even the case. It was Pacquiao bumping in to Floyd, which is natural and a common thing in boxing. Floyd wasn't doing excessive holding or going out of his way to hold Pacquiao, so on and so forth. You even had Abner Mares during the Rigondeaux versus Casimero fight, throwing shade at Rigondeaux by stating, "That's exactly how Rigondeaux beat me in the amateurs, by running." I mean, the audacity for the fighter who ducked Rigondeaux when they were both champions. The moment Rigondeaux beat a top 3 pound for pound Indonair and was the number 1 in his division, money-wise, pound for pound wise, number-wise, still Abner Mares vacated his belt to duck Rigondeaux and moved up to 126, only to get KO'd by Gonzalez in the first round. The irony of it all. Abner Mares knows better than I do. The young Rigondeaux was a cold-hearted killer in the ring. He will move around the ring like he's floating on water. But unlike the 42 years old version of Rigondeaux today that can't even pull the trigger or mix it up in the inside, the young Rigondeaux was the contrary. He will eat you alive if you try to come in or if you try to move away from him. And like I said, Abner Mares know this better than I do. I actually saw their fight and it wasn't even close. It was a murder scene. So nice try by Abner Mares, who ducked him in the pros for all of the money and the legacy in the world. Rigondeaux beat a prime Donaire who was number 3 pound for pound, making him look like a nobody in the process. After that fight, Cruz, Abner Mares, Quigg, Frampton, etc., 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 all of these champions vacated their belts and moved up in weight. I kid you not. However, today you hear them talking. But we all know talk is cheap. Furthermore, where are the Castano people at? All of the Castano fans that screamed robbery when he fought Jermell Charlo because of the referee scoring the fight 117-111. Where is that same Hispanic support for the Hispanic Guillermo Rigondeaux? Where is all of these fans, all of these media outlets, old media, all of these trolls on YouTube? How come I don't hear robbery for the judge that scored the fight 117-111 to Casimero, the judge named Robber? Where is all the backlash that's missing? Or is it Rigondeaux not considered Hispanic like Castano because he's a black Cuban? Is it because he was fighting a fighter on the hope list, unlike Castano, who was fighting a fighter on the coincidental list? Is it the fact that Rigondeaux himself is on the coincidental list because he don't have the complexion for the connection to get the ultimate protection? He gets the ultimate neglection instead. I can guarantee you majority of these people in the comment section that screamed robbery for Castano don't even acknowledge Rigondeaux as Hispanic. I see them same Hispanic people go Vivo Filipino. Because me personally, I had the fight very close. The fight could have went either way. I had the fight scored 116-113 to Guillermo Rigondeaux. I don't really consider the fight a robbery because, like I said before, Rigondeaux, he allowed the judges that was looking for a reason to rob him. Rigo gave them that reason. He should have known better not to. I know it's not fair, but Rigo knows the double standards exist. He dealt with them his entire career. So again, just like I said, Castano versus Jermell Charlo wasn't a robbery. I don't think this fight was a robbery. However, the judge Robert that scored the fight 117-111 in favor of Casimero, he clearly already had his mind made up before the fight even began. Because Showtime's unofficial scorecard by Steve Farhood, who did a great job, in my opinion, scoring the fight, he had the fight 105-104 in favor of Rigondeaux going into the 12th round. The only difference, I actually had Rigondeaux winning the 12th round because he landed 4 punches, Casimero only landed 2. Plus Rigondeaux landed a blazing left hand to start the round that drove Casimero back. I mean, Rigondeaux was landing punches like that all night, but he landed one like that in the 12th round and outlanded Casimero as well while being the ring general. So obviously I gave him that round, which is how I scored the fight 116-113 in favor of Guillermo Rigondeaux. But the judge Robert, who scored the fight 117-111 in favor of Casimero, that was clearly a robbery. Therefore, where are the Castano fans at? See, Castano, he actually cut off the ring against Jermell Charlo. He put Jermell Charlo on the ropes and was landing punches. Meanwhile, Casimero, he didn't do any of that. And last but not least, even in the first round when Rigondeaux got dropped by a punch to the back of his head, Rigondeaux took a knee and Casimero hit Rigondeaux 3 times illegally while he was down. We know the rules in boxing. If you hit your opponent while he's down on one knee, you get a point automatically taken off. 1 or 2. You even can get disqualified like Roy Jones did. But not Casimero though, which that would have had major effect on the scorecard. That even had major effect on Rigondeaux' performance because he was actually hurt by them punches he got hit with while he was down. And it took him a long time to recover from them punches. Nevertheless, watching this fight makes you appreciate fighters like Floyd Mayweather, Crawford, Devin Haney, Shakur, because even though they can box, they also can fight in the pocket better than the inside fighters can. Even then, after 95 to 98% of Floyd Mayweather fights being entertaining, they still called him boring. So even if Rigondeaux fought toe-to-toe like he did his previous fights, they would have still labeled him boring. Because It's a code word for something else. With all of the facts laid out, drop your thoughts in the comment section below. If you disagree with anything I said, then exactly point it out. But if you can't, then you obviously can't handle the whole absolute truth as well. So subscribe below and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, Akhi, TV. Peace, and I'm on to the next one.